Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope y'all are doing great. In this video, I want to continue where we left off last episode and set up the server that we provisioned, and I want to install Proxmox on it and set up the networking with you. So I would say with that, let's get started. So over on my other monitor, which you can probably see by the white glow on the side of my face, I have the setup instructions for Proxmox. I will link it in the description down below as well, so you can follow along and you don't have to manually type what I am typing, because you know that we IT people can be lazy, so let's make everything easy so you can just copy and paste. So first of all, what we want to make sure is that the host name and such is all correctly set up. So we'll just cat @c hosts. Make sure that we have the hostname of the server with the IP of the server. And then we can also, just to double check, we can run a hostname tag IP address, which should return the IP address or IP addresses for our server. Now what we want to do is we want to add the PVE no subscription repository so we can actually install Proxmox. So we can hit enter to put that into a file, and then we can download the repository key that is used for validation of the packages. And then what we can do is we can just run an apt update to update the repositories and a full upgrade just to make sure everything is up to date. In this case, there are some updates that come from the Proxmox repository, so let's just install those and then we can move on. So I'm just going to copy the next command, which is going to be apt install and then Proxmox default kernel, which is the kernel that we want to use. So we can install that, hit Y to confirm, and now it is going to install the kernel, and then we're going to have to reboot the server so it can boot into that kernel. So we just wait a couple of seconds for it to install, which depending on your server can take a bit of time or goes a bit faster, you know, depends on the CPU and the drives. So I will just get the reboot command ready. So now we just wait for this to finish, and then once it is finished, we can reboot the server. So now that the kernel installation has finished, we can run a systemctl reboot to reboot the server. And then we wait for the server to boot back up. And then once we're done, we can move on to the next steps. So the server has finally rebooted. It did take a bit longer for some reason. I had to give the server a manual reset. This occurs like in once in every like 20 installs that I do, that for some reason you need to give the server a little help by doing the automatic reset through the website. So just in case yours takes forever to reboot, that is an option. And I've just run a command here just to check that, as you can see, which I need my cursor for, that we are indeed loaded into the kernel that we just installed. So now we can get to actually installing Proxmox, which we can do with this command, which will install some packages for NTP, Proxmox itself, postfix for SMTP, which we will configure, and I will tell you how that works as we go. So let's just hit enter, and it's gonna need to install a lot, as you can see, but let's just do yes, and then let's let it install, and then I will get back to you once we get the first prompt. So as you can see, that went faster than I expected, but as you can see here, it shows you which option is which, and I recommend for this, if you're not into postfix, not into SMTP too much, just select local only, leave the systeml name alone, and then just continue to wait until it's uninstalling, and then we will get to logging in and setting up the network bridge so you can actually use VM. So now we wait, so I will fast forward this, and then I will get back to you once it's done. So now that it is done with the installation, we just need to run one more command to remove the old default kernel, so the non-Proxmox one, and also to remove another package. So what I usually do is I just paste the command from the documentation, but I will add os tag prober in there as well. And then we can just do Y and enter. Why we need to uninstall the default kernel is because we want to use the Proxmox one and we don't want it to accidentally boot into the wrong one. And OS prober is because otherwise it might somehow add a boot entry for one of your containers or VMs, as according to the documentation. So we just want to remove that as well. And then what we can do is we can just run update-grub just to make sure that all the entries that OS prober may have put in there are gone. And now that that is done, we can set up a password so we can log into Proxmox. Let's just do passwd and then paste the password in twice. And now what we can do is we can access the server through the web UI. So what I'm going to do is get Firefox, and we'll go to HTTPS, the IP of the server, and then on port 8006. Then we will click Advanced and accept the risk and continue because it has a self-signed cert. For the username, we do root, and for the password, we do what we just set. For now, let's just click OK. And what I'm going to do now, you can do through both this interface as well as the console. I'm going to do it through this interface because it's easier. Easier for most people to understand, but I will admit I usually do it through the terminal. So I had recorded some footage, but I unfortunately made a mistake, so I cannot use that footage, but this is what you want the networking to look like. So if you go to the hosts and then under system, there is network, you are going to need, depending on what you want, you are going to need 1 or 2 bridges. You're at least going to need 1 for your VMs, but I like making 2 just for the sake of having a WAN, so you can use public IPs from Hetzner on this bridge that is connected to this network device that is facing the public internet, and then a LAN bridge for, you know, your local like VMs that don't need a public IP address. You can set this up in a couple of ways. What I did is I will try to show you the footage I have is I made a typo in the IP address and I had to reboot the server into rescue mode, fix that, and then reboot the server again. That was my mistake, but hey, mistakes happen. So what we're going to do is double click on the network device, and then I remove, or first note down the IPv4 CIDR gateway, and then for IPv6 the same. Then just empty all that and then click OK. Then create a Linux bridge, fill in that information in here, and then make sure AutoSort is selected and that bridge port is set to the interface that is connected to the public internet. So ENO1 in this case. So that is what I did here. And then I left a comment for WAN. So that is what I have done here. And then just click OK. And then what I did is I added another bridge with no bridge port that is VLAN aware, so you can do VLANs, and then just set up an IPv4 insider. You can do 2 things in terms of your LAN. You can either use the Proxmox host itself to do the routing for you, and then you can optionally like install like a DHCP server on your Proxmox host, but I don't recommend that. In my opinion, if you're just getting started, it's way easier to just spend a €5 setup fee and then a like €1.50 or something a month on an extra IP address. So what I'm going to do in this case is if you want to go with the first route, which I won't show, but I will show you one thing you have to do. If you go to your server, you will have to edit the sysctl and then uncomment net.ipv4.ip_forward equals 1. Uncomment that to enable packet forwarding, save that, and then just do sysctl tag p, and now it will route packets so you can use it as a gateway for your LAN. That is one of the things you'd have to set up that I just want to show. If you are going to use a router VM, you don't have to do this, but I just wanted to show because this is something that some people forget sometimes. Now, if you are going to go with a router VM, I don't recommend putting the bridge on .1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to .2. And then click OK, and it will apply the configuration, and it'll also show a diff at the bottom as you just saw with what it is going to change, so you can double check that it is doing the right thing. And I'm just going to remove the temp underscore as well in the comments, so it is just called LAN. So now that we have all this set up, in the next episode I'm going to show you how to get the ISO for your VM on Proxmox, and then set up a router virtual machine, including with how to get the MAC address from Hetzner and all that. So don't worry, I will show all of it. That just brings me back to the question of, hey, let me know if you have a preference for the software that I use for the router. Let it be OpenSense, pfSense, MikroTik CHR, which is what I generally use, but that's just because I like MikroTik. So let me know that in the comments, and then whatever gets picked more, I will use that, or you know, depending on how the engagement is. This is one of my first videos, so I'm not expecting the whole comment section to be full. You can also just throw it on Discord. The link is in the description, the invite link to the Discord, where you can catch up with me, the others. As the Discord grows, there will be more people, hopefully. That is, you know, that is the plan. And then you can also let me know there or DM it to me. My DMs are open. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments or in the Discord. And then I will catch you all with the next episode. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow on Twitch, YouTube, all that jazz. You get the idea by now. Everyone says it. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.